Hello and welcome to That Shooting Show. My name is Steve Anderson. I am your humble host. We have a very special guest to get to very, very briefly. Hopefully, he's wearing briefs and he'll be briefly. Didn't make you spit your water out, did I? No. Well, okay. All right. We'll keep working on that.
Not
But first,
quite.
I thank our partners. We are a proud service of Walther Firearms. Joey, would you be willing to shoot a Walther PDP at Care Optics Nationals next year?
At carry, I guess if I shoot carry out Big Nationals, yeah,
You're going to have to because you can't shoot anything Masterpiece makes.
yeah. I mean, there's always the option to just get bumped to open.
You can. So we are a proud service of Walther Firearms. Also want to let you know that Targets USA manufactures the finest steel targetry. CR Speed, as Joey knows, manufactures the finest race holstery on the planet. Maybe not suitable for really, really, really hard running, Joe. That might be the
Yeah.
one it's not made for.
No, that was entirely user error. I didn't the little thing that turns that
Lock.
locks it and unlocks it. The screw that holds that in place was actually just very loose, and I knew that it was. Uh, but I was being goofy. It was loose. I was like, it'll probably not fall out. And I started sprinting and it did. But that was okay.
And of course, as you know, Hunter's HD Gold is the only eyewear that we wear. The AMG-lab.com Commanderson timer continues to turn heads and blow minds with its lead time and put in timers into the tablets. I believe that match was 100% AMG. Every timer I saw was an AMG. Shooting Sports Innovations is a lot to type because there's a lot to see. OutdoorDynamics.net remanufactures the finest competition ammunition you can dispense from a Freedom Seed dispenser. I feel like I'm leaving one out. Targets USA, CR Speed, Hunter's HD Gold, AMG, Shooting Sports, Outdoor Dynamics. That's everybody. And of course, you are a proud service of Masterpiece Arms. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So let's do very briefly before we get into all the questions I have and everybody has. Let's do a quick Joey Sauerland story. Your emergence has been pretty stratospheric, and I don't think everybody knows where you came from and how long you've actually been doing this stuff.
Okay. Origin story, huh? So in the summer of 2020, my cousin Michael and I saw John Wick, and we thought John Wick was pretty cool, and so we should start doing whatever Keanu does. So we found out that he did, basically free gun and USPSA, and we started shooting some IDPA, USPSA three gun matches. And we, no offense, I don't want to hurt it, so I'm not trying to be rude, but we soon realized that USPSA and three gun were the sports we were gonna stick with. And then after the first, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 months, we kind of phased out free gun just because it's just is a lot. Dry fire with three guns is a lot. All the different ammo and stuff. And then obviously when COVID happened, the ammo got tougher to find. So one kind of ammo for a pistol was easier. And so then we were in USPSA. And so the first year was kind of just messing around, buying some guns. And then our second year, we came to train with you, and that was a big catapult because that's where we kind of started learning how to dry fire and how to practice. And then that was the first year we started competing seriously, started shooting some level twos. I think we actually shot our first level three. And then yeah, that was the second year. And then here we are at the closing of the third year. And I've been basically over the last 2 years, I've been training hard, mostly dry fire, vast majority dry fire. And then coming to train with you another two times, once in a class and once one on one, made a big difference. Um, but Yeah, I mean, basically it's been 3 years. The first year was kind of just messing around in some different sports. The second year, getting serious with USPSA, started to train, and then this is the third year right here.
And total live ammo round count outside of matches. Do you know what it is now?
Outside of matches, it's about 15,000.
15th, and that's a pretty big jump from the last time we talked about that number.
Yeah, yeah, it was 10,000 this summer. But I did not necessarily in preparation for nationals because I don't think I'm gonna train all year round, whatever way I feel is best for the advancement of my shooting abilities. But kind of just over the last handful of months, I started just discovering more stuff that I was able to learn um, with live fire, stuff that I hadn't really gotten into before, like
Okay.
uh, like prepping the trigger and having the sights return to the same spot on different types of targets, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it. I remember one time I had a client. So your name comes up a bunch, particularly anytime somebody is shooting limited or standard, your name comes up, and they always want to know, how do I improve my splits? And I explained to them that splits statistically is the highest risk for the least reward as a skill to go chase. And
Right.
I think we actually called you during one of those conversations, and you said, "Go shoot a bill drill at 25 yard. There's your splits." Do you remember that?
Yeah. 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 No, that was the best. Because I mean, fast splits sound cool, but I think the last time I was on your podcast, I mentioned how when I was A class, my match videos were way cooler. You know, there was a lot more there was a lot more like sprinting around as fast as I could, waving the gun around, putting the gun up and down, ripping the trigger as fast as I could, and there would be that was yeah, there would be some tens. Frequently I have 10 splits uh at club matches, and those videos were really cool, but once I started building my splits around making the gun go off as soon as I have another acceptable sight picture instead of making the gun go off as fast as I can. Um, yeah, I mean that brought the fastest splits. I mean, sometimes if the target's in the spray zone, you still spray it and you still
Mhm.
get that 10 split. Uh, but the vast majority of the time, it's worth it's worth the 5/100ths of a second to shoot another alpha instead of a Charlie. Like 99% of the time it's worth it for that. So yeah. And
And
also, avoiding things like, no
and
shoot or carbon cover.
I had the honor of hanging out with you and Travis Tomasi at the Handgun Nationals on the Super Squad, and I don't think we had a split under 30 until maybe the third day. Certainly not on day one.
Definitely not day one though.
Maybe a couple on. Well, we had the bill drill on day two. Do you want to talk about the bill drill, or you want to leave that out?
We can talk about the bill drill. It was kind of a highlight. I think I think so. So for anybody listening who doesn't know, there was a bill. One of the stages at Hanga Nationals was a bill drill from wrists above shoulders, and I zeroed it. Uh, Drew shot 3 rounds, had a failure to feed, went to racket lightning quick, uh, had a double feed, and then because I'm so good, I dropped the magazine, racked the slide to clear the double feed, right? Dropped the magazine, racked the slide, and had the second magazine inside the mag well before the double fed round, had fallen out the bottom of the mag well.
Oh dear Lord, I didn't know that.
Put that puppy right back up in there, racked the slide to chamber a fresh round, and I was instantaneously double fed. And this is a stage that people are doing in 2 seconds. So I'm already up to 4 or 5 seconds, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna. I'd rather be done with this. And I wasn't running hit factor or point numbers in my head. I was like, I'm just gonna be done with this. It's a bill drill. It's 30 points, right? And I'm done messing around with it for the moment, right? So then I turned around to the Super Squad, which is my first time being on the Super Squad, and I thought it was going to be like too serious and like a lot of high pressure, but everybody there was super cool, was chill. So I turned around and I called back to the squad, raw time champ, because I think I did it the fastest time on the build drill, having only shot 3 rounds. And I then the adjoining stage that was on that day, you started in the exact same spot. So and you started unloaded. So I started unloaded, and then I think I shot the fastest time of the entire match on that stage as well with really good hits. And in my opinion, that was a really great exercise in having the right thoughts at the right time.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I just zeroed a stage at nationals, the first nationals where I've thought like, I have a chance of winning this nationals and winning a national title. And I just zeroed a stage. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, all I can do now is call my shots, nothing else to do. And
Right.
it went great.
Boy, there's so many places we could go from there. But the first thing I want to say is I believe that the triad for shooting is dry fire, mental game, and shot calling. Right. I think
Yep.
those are the three things that you are phenomenal at. Dry firing like a fiend to get crazy fast. Sometimes we call that FAF.
Yep.
Using mental management to control your thoughts and get access to subconscious skill. And live fire, especially if somebody's going to be dry firing way more than they live fire, shot calling is pretty much all you need to do because everything else comes out of dry fire. Right? Let's
Yeah.
use dry fire to build mechanical speed, subconscious speed, limit of human function. Let's use mental management to control our thoughts, get access to subconscious skill, and then let's call every shot in live fire as a singular. Well, that's for sure as a singular focus in competition, but let's make sure that we know where those rounds are going every time the gun goes off. Not before, not after, but as the gun goes off. Right? And you turned to me, I believe it was day three, and you said in your unmistakable Joey Sauerland, Clark Kent, about to go in the phone booth and become Superman, Steve, I have learned to let shot calling, and you overpronounce all the words, which makes it even better, shot calling become a singular focus to occupy my conscious mind, and therefore, get 100% access to subconscious skill. And that's all you're doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And people don't believe it. So all these questions that we'll get to in a minute. How's Joey do this? How's Joey do that? How's Joey do this? And they're not going to believe that you're using mental management to get access to subconscious skill based on a high level of training and then simply calling every shot as the gun goes off.
Yeah. I was going to mention that the one of the small list of things that you get out of live fire that you don't get out of dry fire is having the having the sights return to the same spot when the gun recoils. And I counterbalance that with, and then it reminded me of something that you said at national. I counterbalance that with, you can choose to wait until the sights are where they need to be before you fire the next shot. And something you said at nationals to me and Travis, I forget what the context was, but somebody had just shot a stage. It was either really good or something went wrong. I don't know. But you said, what can you do? What can you fix right now? Right. And if you haven't, it wasn't on the standard stage, but just as an example, you said something like, you can't you can't increase your weak hand shooting skills right now, right? You can't do that right now. That takes hours and hours and hours of practice over a period of time, right? What you can do is choose to call your shots. You can fix that right now. And you made a great point. You made a great point. That's usually the only thing you can fix, right? If there's something wrong, if something's not working, uh, in terms of your shooting, that's usually the only thing you can do at the match is choose to call your shots.
And that's so at the intermediate to advanced level, the biggest and maybe only problem a shooter is going to have is a temporary lapse of visual patience.
Yeah.
And it is always caused by desiring to do something else than make that shot. It's either I got to get out of this position, I got to get to the end of the stage, I got to do it in 12 seconds.
Yeah.
And particularly with iron sights, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
the amount of refinement necessary to make a good shot versus a bad shot will never take more than 5 hundredths of a second. But boy, it feels like forever, doesn't it? Waiting
Oh
for
yeah.
this to settle.
And you know what? This is one of the things that mental management really helps with is anytime you do rip that split, it's because your conscious mind kicked in and said you should be going faster.
Mhm.
So you should shoot this target faster, or you should run faster. The conscious mind kicks in, and then usually that, even though usually you're trying to do something better, your conscious mind kicks in and says, hey, you need to be going faster. So, based on math, faster is better, right? If you do something faster with the same hits, you get a higher hit factor. Uh, but usually that ends up not only making you less accurate, but also slower because, are you going to run faster? Like you're probably going to drop the gun and wave it around more and it won't be ready to shoot as soon. But yeah, mental management definitely plays a huge role in getting your best shooting subconsciously. And that's honestly when it's most effortless. I've found that anytime I've tried hard at anything at a match, usually makes it go worse. But subconscious shooting is definitely the secret.
Well, and so here's the deal. Everybody knows and everybody says they shoot their best when they're not thinking and they don't care.
Yeah,
But and I don't think they make a connection between not thinking and subconscious performance.
right.
I, because that's what a subconscious performance is a low amount of conscious thought. And everybody knows that's when they shoot their best, but they don't learn how to replicate that when they are thinking and they do care, right? So mental management teaches us to control what we think about and control what we care about. So it's process based instead of outcome based. All right. Now, because we have a limited, how do you say limited? Limited. So you have a funny way of pronouncing limited, over pronouncing it.
No, I just call it limited, but it would be nice if it was called standard.
Yeah.
I don't like telling people that, people who don't know, they don't know anything about USPSA, like family members and stuff, like, oh, how'd your shooting thing go? I'm like, oh, I won limited division. And they're like, oh, limited. Okay. So, like, okay, the special people's division, the people who are limited. Okay, that's good for you. That's good they let you participate in that. Good for them.
All right, so let's have a challenge for you to keep these answers as brief as possible so we can get to as many of them as possible. Okay?
All right.
Rapid fire questions. It's the Joey Sauerland Show with rapid fire questions for Joe. Travis Tomasi says, if he were on a deserted island and could only do one fitness exercise for practical shooting, what would it be?
Uh, Kettlebell swing.
Okay. Courtney Abel. Remember Courtney Abel from How to Get from
Oh
C to
yeah.
G? How did he get so awesome?
Kettlebell swing.
Here we go. What were some mistakes you made along your shooting journey that you wish you could fix?
Uh, Probably. Give me one sec here.
He's going to get his kettlebells, ladies and gentlemen.
Probably. I don't think I did anything that I wish I hadn't done. There's just things that I do now that I wish I had been doing longer. And those things are mostly dry fire and mental management oriented.
Yeah. Uh, I'm not sure if this is a joke or not, but what kind of brass are you using?
Huh? Yeah, it might be a joke. Action brass co only, son.
Okay. And this is very interesting. This is from a guy who just took mental management over the last 3 days. He literally just took it. Okay. And he wants to know, are you following your mental management program 100% of the time, journal and all?
Um, I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, but it could be better. If I probably could have and should have written in my journal after each day of nationals, but I just wrote in my journal after nationals once I got home. So I'm there's no box that isn't being checked, but some of them could probably get checked a little bit harder.
Okay. And if not, why? And what effects do you see between using it and not using it? So that question would be pre mental management and post management, since you are using 99% of the time.
Um, it's day and night. It's day and night. There's no question. I remember my first match where I did use mental management, and multiple people approached me and said, "What one? I murdered everyone. I won high overall at my club match, and there's a couple open grandmasters there, PCC grandmasters there who usually beat me. I took high overall at the match by a large margin, and I had several people approach me during the match and say, "Hey, you okay? You seem to be acting a little bit different. And really, it was just because I was a little bit more quiet because I was doing my preset, and I was also doing my I'm gonna look bad now. I forget what it's called. After I shoot the stage,
Hmm. You don't need to mention it. It's okay. You
what's it? I forget what it's called. What's it called?
well, specifically, it's called the reload.
The reload. Right. Uh, yeah, and I was doing that. So they would see me after shooting the stage. They would see me step off to the side, kind of stand there quietly, staring out blankly at the stage. And I think maybe some of them thought I was like, upset or aggravated or something. But yeah, no, day and night. People noticed it about the way I was acting, and it was day and night and how it affected my shooting from
Okay.
stage to stage. Yeah.
Okay, next question is somewhat related. Describe your mindset in a match setting.
Um,
Monkey.
yeah, in a match setting. Okay, so if I'm not up to shoot, I'm just trying to have fun. Trying to have fun, trying to be helpful, and relaxing, and probably working on getting a subconscious stage plan. But technical things like that aside, just trying to have fun. And then when I'm in the hole on deck and up to shoot, I got my earplugs in and my muffs on over top of those, all inside myself, and I'm ready to just call my shots. It's not there. There's pressure, but I've learned that the pressure helps a lot, and it's confidence. The pressure and the confidence work together. If there's pressure and you don't have confidence, then the pressure hurts you. If there's pressure and you have confidence, well, then that means if I've got the confidence that I know I'm going to do great, I know I can call my shot on every shot by every target on this stage, then the pressure just means like, well, that means you're going to do a great job at something that's even more important. So that's great. And so yeah, I'm quiet. I'm inside myself, but have fun, confidence, and all the little things like subconscious stage plan, calling shots.
Little things. Yeah, those just minor details.
Well,
And
the technical things. Yeah,
so
mechanical.
this is really interesting. In the time, if you're the first shooter up, okay, and you've already done the mental management analysis of your performance, and you've made the correction or you've reinforced what you did well, you don't have to think about shooting while you're pasting targets. You don't have to think about the match. Now, many people will choose to, right?
Right.
But if you're not thinking about the stage you just shot or your performance, you can think about whatever you want. But if you are thinking about your run on that stage, you've got to stay on the flow chart and make the correction so that you don't carry the problem to the next stage. Right? That's massive. And I just want to remind people, anytime the wheels fall off, it's because you make a mistake and you think about the mistake. And as you think about the mistake, you picture the mistake, and then the mistake happens again. And now you're, here we go again. Well, here we go again is self-image. So here we go again can either be a stage win or a dumpster fire. Here we go again. This is what's normal for us to do. All right, let's see.
I shot a stage win on stage one.
You did right out of the gate.
Yeah, it's like me to shoot a stage win on my first stage.
Mm-hmm. What are the three most beneficial dry fire exercise that have helped you grow your skills?
Heck, speed mode, accuracy mode, and match mode. Boom. Got it? You got that written down?
So people don't understand those, right?
Right,
If
right.
we're in speed mode, all that means is the timer is more important than the target. Okay. If we're in accuracy mode, it means the target is more important than the timer. And if we're in match mode, we're leaving only acceptable shots as quickly as we can see them without consciously slowing down. That's it.
Yeah. So if that's the real answer. That's the answer that you actually need to hear. But if their question was like, what specific drills are the best? Um, I I do specific drills, maybe like a six reload, six dry fire drill, specific drills like that are relatively short in duration. They make up a small-ish, maybe like 33% percentage of the dry fire that I do, but probably two-thirds of the dry fire that I do is it's in one of the modes. It's either in speed mode, accuracy mode, or match mode. But I really like setting up small stages. So, it might involve anywhere from like usually like 8 to 12 targets. And usually I'll have a wall in there. It requires some movement. The targets are at different distances. There's some partial, which kind of represents a small stage. And I'm always changing that. I'll set that up and I'll work on that in one of the modes, right? So if it's speed mode that it needs, then I'm finding out what it takes to get, a sight picture on each one of these targets in a shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter amount of time. Or if it's accuracy mode, a more perfect sight picture, more perfectly, and more perfectly every single time I do it. Or if it's match mode, doing it completely subconsciously, off of a beep at the speed at which I can call acceptable shots. But that's two thirds of the dry fire I do is small setup fake stages, and I'm doing them over and over and over and over and over
Mm -hmm. Very good. All right, I think that covers that. Let's see what the next question is. Would you like to elaborate on the use of a metronome during dry fire?
Oh yeah, big time. That's something that I mean, really, it just came out of your book, but um, the metronome does force you. So the par time, a shorter par time, forces you to do things faster, but that just tells you the beginning and the end time from beep to beep, how fast the whole thing needs to be. So it's kind of like, if your manager comes in and he says, I need this whole project done by Friday. That's just the beginning, and you got to start now, Monday. That's just the beginning and the end. But if he says, hey, I need these parts of the project done by the end of the day, Monday, this done by lunch on Tuesday, this done by, if you break up the individual requirements like that, it's usually a lot more easy to accomplish that goal. So what the metronome does, as opposed to just having a beginning and end par time for your speed mode drill, if you've got targets set up and you're using the metronome, you've now got your trigger pulls and your transitions timed out. And when you push that speed faster, you don't there's no doing something slower and then trying to make up for it later. There's no missing the Monday work project and then trying to have to make up for it on Tuesday. I know exactly what has to get done Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and it breaks it up more. And when I started messing around with that, I noticed that the demand on the transitions was greater. The demand on my splits was lower. I found myself challenged to slow down my trigger pulls on the same target, which is crazy, right? Because I'm doing something way faster than I would ever do it, in live fire or, in a match, right? Unrealistically fast, but I'm making that normal, right? So I get faster. And I'm finding myself challenged to slow down my trigger pulls on the same target and space them out a little bit more, which I think is great because typically I don't shoot too slowly. If anything, shoot a little bit too fast on the same target. Um, but the transitions were required to be much faster. They were pushed a huge amount when I do that. And then also what's required to get the next sight picture soon, right? It's not just getting the gun there, it's getting your eyes there and finding out where you want those sights to end up. And the speed of that was pushed more than it ever had been before.
Sure. So if we compare splits to transitions, splits is the most risk for the least reward. Transitions is the greatest reward for the least risk when you do it correctly. When you call the last shot, we're not worried about that shot anymore. We snap our eyes to the next target. We pick our spot. That will be faster and more accurate. And that's what everybody wants. How do I get faster and more accurate? Work on your transitions. And you probably know Joey Zadig.
Yeah, I've met it.
So he's actually the dude that I invented that when I was working with him in dry fire. I was trying to think of a way to get him to speed up his transitions, right? And we were at my house in my basement, a lot of music gear. So I just grabbed a metronome and said, I want you to pull the trigger every time you hear a click. and it forced him, as you said, to slow down his splits and pick up his transitions. It's
Yeah.
super, super valuable. Very, very.
It forces you, and that's the right word for it too. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're being forced. You know, the first time you put the metronome on, you're like, oh crap, like I need to have found that target already and brought my sights to it already.
All right, this next one is from my buddy Bill Dillon. Bill Dolan, who is almost sole. Well, he's not solely responsible, but he's extremely responsible for the fact that I have a shooting range on my property.
Nice.
Do you know that story?
I know you've told it to me before. I forget that. I think it was the first time we were at your house.
So briefly, Bill Dolan sent me 100 patches that says Steve was right. Get to work. And
Nice.
I had just bought the house, but I couldn't afford to do the dirt work for the range. And I
Right.
got this crazy idea to sell those patches for 25 bucks and 50 bucks, and then give people discounts on training. And we sold all of those in 3 days and built the range from his brilliant idea. So he wants to know, keeping dry fire honest. And I'm a little suspicious of that already. No offense to Bill, because he's an awesome dude, but I have some thoughts on that. What kind of self awareness, self monitoring, internal questions are happening during dry fire to ensure grip and vision are one to live fire? That's a lot.
I understand his question
Go ahead.
very well, and I'm going to answer it with an analogy. Um, they don't have to be one to one.
Mm-hmm.
You're working on individual things. By being better at which, you will become a better shooter. So when the football player does squats in the gym, he never has to do squats on the football field. There's no barbells, there's no weights on the football field. By being able to squat more, he becomes a better football player. Um, Same thing with dry fire. Like, okay, you can do this reload six in 2 seconds. Uh, but your grip was sloppy and your sight picture is sloppy. It's like, well, I'm never gonna have to do a six reload six, in 2 seconds in real life, right? Unless you actually did it that fast, that'd be pretty cool. Uh, but by being able to move my eyes and the gun that fast, I will become a better shooter. So as long as you can correctly define success in the exercise that you're doing, if that's speed mode, then the definition of success is speed, right? If that's accuracy mode, the definition of success is accuracy. If you can successfully define success in the exercise that you're doing, it doesn't have to be one-to-one in all of its aspects with live fire. As long as you're improving the specific thing that you want to improve and making a higher level of that thing normal for you, that's all that matters.
It's a great answer. And this is very interesting. And the reason I said I was dubious is a lot of people, they want dry fire to be realistic. Well, I don't think that's the goal of dry fire. I think the goal of dry fire is building a faster human being operating a handgun,
Yeah.
right? And so we call that the limit of human function. As the limit of function increases, your access to that limit of function is, well, it's access two ways. It's access based on the visual requirements of each shot. Okay. And the other thing people don't understand is it's also access through self-image. And if the imprints during dry fire are, this is not realistic, I will never be able to do this fast in live fire, then they're short circuiting the whole process. Now self-image says, you can't do this with a hot gun. Right?
Right.
And people get so obsessed with the comparison between live fire and dry fire. I never compared them, Joey. Never. All I knew is they were both getting faster, and that's all I cared about. Right? As long as they're both getting faster, I don't really care what the correlation is.
Yeah. I mean, I think the squat analogy is the best analogy.
It's
You never have to do squats with a barbell in a football game. Ever. No one's ever done that before.
And no football player comes in and goes, "This isn't realistic. There's not weights on the field."
Right. Right. That's exactly what honestly exactly what it sounds like every time somebody's like, every now and then there's someone on home range, there'll be some guy there. and he'll make some comment, like basically saying, if you're not shooting bullets, then how do you know where you're hitting the target? And
Oh,
usually my response is, I don't have time for this, right? I don't have time for this. I got an hour to dry fire in here. I don't have time for this. Uh, but the one time, I'm probably getting off track, making this answer too long. But the one time I did have time, uh, I said, oh, let me tell you. I was like, so I actually have a masterpiece arms gun, right? They make really nice competition guns. I'm showing it to him, and he's like, wow, this is the most expensive gun I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, yeah, they're super nice. In fact, it's so nice, it actually comes built in when you buy the gun. Stop. We these things that will show you where the bullets go. And so all you have to do, and he's really into it. He thinks it's some like high tech laser sighting dry fire system thing. And I just drug out the explanation of how iron sights work for like a solid 120 seconds. And then towards the end of which he's like, yeah, that's you're just talking about the sights. My gun has sights too. And I was like, oh, then perfect. And then I walked away.
so great. So I actually had a guy ask me. I don't remember what the venue was. I think it was somebody else's podcast. The guy asked. He literally asks, "How do you call your shots in dry fire?" And I started laughing because I thought he was joking.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I have been I have literally been approached by every dry fire gadget on the planet to endorse their products, and I've turned them all down. There is only one dry fire product I'm willing to endorse, and I'm not gonna say it right now because I want to talk to these guys first. There's only one dry fire product that I want to endorse. Remember, I invented the modern dry fire method. Okay, I'm super proud of that.
Right.
There is one dry fire product where the FAQ says, "How do I know where my bullets go?" And the answer to the FAQ is, "Call your shots, stupid." you know. All right. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but do you? This is from my buddy Andrew McCall, who
I'll make one up.
specializes in McCalling the shot. Do you know him?
Oh no, I don't.
Okay.
That's a cool name though.
He's a carry optics dude. Uh, do you have any idea what your grip strength is in PSI for your support hand?
Um, no clue. Yeah, I got no idea.
I didn't think so. All
Yeah.
right. Gaz, Garrett John Evans from South Africa. He's a big fan of yours. Um, he says, congratulations on your placement at USPSA Handgun Nationals. What is allowing you to keep your mental game consistent throughout a match?
Well, first of all, thanks, King. And then what's allowing for my mental game? My mental game's allowed me to keep my mental game straight, having the right thoughts at the right time. That's what the mental game is having the right thoughts.
And
So,
that, of course, is
which,
mental management. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it takes exercise like anything else does. Uh, like if you want to be good at having the right thoughts when it's tough to have the right thoughts, you got to go do things that require that. Um, go go have a pipe burst in your house and it's flooding with water, and go try and have just nothing but positive, productive thoughts while the entire floor of your house and all the carpet is soaked with water. Try and have only positive and productive thoughts. That'd be a great exercise in mental game. You
And you've
know?
done that.
Yeah, literally did. That was the example why I came up with that example. I literally did that. Yeah, and it was great. I was great at it.
And so this is really interesting because Gaz obviously has a phenomenal mental game.
Right.
Um, and he of course he's been through mental management numerous times. He's on the Anderson shooting team. People are always looking for the secret when the secret is already here, right? You get access to the secret when you do what I've been telling people to do for years. You're one of probably five people that have done everything I've ever recommended that you do. And all those five people are enjoying phenomenal success. The other people that pick and choose, oh, I like this part, but I don't like that. I'll do this, but I won't do that. Well, if you're doing 75% of what I recommend, you're going to have 75% success. You do 100% of what I recommend, your success rate will be much closer to 100. Gaz also wants to know, what are your personal favorite methods or drills for developing your act? And by the way, that question from him might have been a plant just to get us talk about mental management because Gaz is very, very
Nice.
smart. Very, very
Nice.
smart. What are your personal favorite methods or drills for developing your accuracy?
Uh, I'm trying to have good original answers here, man. But accuracy mode, dry fire. Let me try and elaborate. Let me see if I can elaborate on that more.
Well,
Uh,
so here, let me help you. Okay.
yeah, do it.
What is required for an accurate shot with an iron sight handgun is an acceptable sight picture and a trigger pull that doesn't disturb the acceptable sight picture. That's it.
There you go.
Group shooting is the best way to build a subconscious trigger pull. People don't believe that, but every time they go out and shoot groups, they get better. That's it. And we are in an era of unprecedented grip analysis. And yes, grip is important, right? McCall wants to know the PSI of your support hand grip. Who the hell cares, right? As
That is
long
wild. That's a fun. That's a fun. I'm gonna go find out.
as long as we have an acceptable sight picture for every shot, and we fire the gun without disturbing that acceptable sight picture, you will get a good shot. It's as simple as that. There is no secret. You don't need a gadget. You don't need a gizmo. You need to go out and shoot groups. You need to learn to call your shots. That's it. Okay, sorry about that. I get a little passionate sometimes.
No, that's
Uh,
good.
I might do this one in kind of a funny accent. I'm rather impressed with the rapidity of his rise. I'd like to know about his other athletic accomplishments and endeavors. Is he familiar with the process of getting good at a sport, or was this something new to him? That's kind of funny.
Um, okay, there was a word that I missed there.
Rapidity.
Rather, rather impressed with what at the beginning?
Rapidity.
Rapidity.
Not stupid.
Okay.
Rep. What he means is, are you great at anything else besides shooting? And did you learn anything from getting great at something else?
Um, so I did before I was into shooting, I did bodybuilding, and I would like to say, yeah, I was really good at that. I was good at it. Without doing steroids. That sport's extremely limited by your genetics. Um, so I wasn't famous or anything, but among people who train for bodybuilding, yeah, I did and drug tested bodybuilding, so you can't be on steroids. Yeah, I did extremely well over a pretty short period of time, and I don't know. I usually have a feeling that if there's something I could and should do, and I don't do it, I you know you get kind of a regretful feeling that I like to try and avoid. Uh, an example I use, can't remember if it was just with Travis or with you and Travis, but I'm brushing my teeth, right? And I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I don't want to be brushing my teeth. That's annoying. But I haven't brushed, like the back yet, like the back inside, right? And I know that I can just skip that, right? Like my mouth's pretty clean anyway. I can just go to bed and skip that. But then I'm gonna go to bed knowing like you did skip that. You did not do something that you could have and should have done. And if you had just done it, you'd probably be in bed by now anyway. So I'm laying there in bed, like probably should have just finished brushing my teeth the right way. And I tend to do that as well. With bodybuilding, I did it, and now with I mean, the vast majority of my time investment in USPSA is doing dry fire. I spend more time dry firing than I do live firing, being at matches, setting up for matches. Dry fire is by far my largest time investment in USPSA, and so usually it's like that too. I do a drill 30 times, and there's something small that could have been better. I have a feeling of like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and do it again. If I quit now before I did it exactly the way I wanted to, yeah, I think it's called OCD is what they call that.
So that reminds me, who was the guy, the 24 guy, the show 24, very famous actor. His dad's also an actor. I'll think of his name. Kiefer Sutherland. So he was in this series where he was into financial espionage, right? Doing things to affect companies' values so people can make money off of that thing. And
Nice.
he's saying how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's what you were just talking about. How you do anything is how you do everything.
That's
Uh,
some truth. That's some truth right there.
How does one balance upon the intersection of improvement and enjoyment without tethering each to the other? Obviously, it's always fun to win, to get better, but the opposite seems to be a place where a person could frustrate themselves to no end. I'm not winning or improving, so this isn't fun. I really want to answer this, but I'm going to let you answer it first.
Okay. I'm hearing a lot about tethering. I'm hearing a lot about enjoyment. Uh, so move past that. I think you gotta define success. I think that's gotta be your definition, right? If I'm gonna match, usually my definition of success is to have fun. So if I'm not having fun, I'm usually asking myself, why did I not have fun? And if it's because maybe if it's because I did poorly, I'll ask why did I do poorly. Usually the answer to that is because I chose something other than calling my shots. So usually calling my shots is the answer to having fun. Uh, every time I walked off the stage with a smile on my face and looked over at you, Steve, what did I say every time? Like, people who know me know this too. I'll come over and I was like, you know what I did on that stage? That right there, when everyone knows that I just murdered it. So you know what I did? It's like, what? What was your secret essay? They're like, called my shots on that one right there, bud. Every time.
And
But
before I answer this guy's question, because I'm not able to help myself, are you aware of the contrast between when they stuck the camera in your face after you murdered a stage and when they stuck the camera in somebody else's face? Were you aware of that contrast? Were you paying attention to that?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So, a member of the Super Squad, who shall remain nameless, would have frequent, really good stages. Like he was a little inconsistent. He was some good, some bad, blah blah blah. And every time he had a good one, they'd stick the camera in his face and they'd say, "How'd that one go?" He goes, "Well, I didn't really stink that one up too bad. I felt like my hits were poor and went to war on steel and I really slipped around out there and I'm just trying to survive without stinking it up too much." And then they stick the camera in your face and you say, "I'm really pleased with that run because I called every single shot."
Yeah. The I don't know how many people are watching that on TV, but the first time they brought the camera over, because normally I have a very programmed response. Someone say, "Hey, how'd that stage go?" And every single time, my response is always an immediate, "Great." It went great. And that's usually all I say, unless I have something specific about usually how I call my shots pretty well. And man, they put this camera in my face. Guy's standing there with the camera over his shoulder, everything. He's like, "Tell us a little bit
Super
about that run.
cooked.
How'd that run go?" I said, "Great." And then he's standing there with the camera pointed at my face, like a foot away from my face. And I'm standing there, I'm like touching my fingers together. I'm like, and I made eye contact with Gianni Giordano. He's like 20 feet back, sitting at one of the tables. And he's just staring at me like over his eye pro like this, smiling at me because he knows I'm making an idiot of myself. And I'm looking back and forth with him in the camera. And I went, that's all I got. Sorry. On camera. Really embarrassing.
So I'm going to answer this guy's question. People get frustrated because primarily negative imprints during training. That's what causes the most damage to the vast majority of shooters. I can't do this very well. I'm not fast enough. I'm not good enough. Well, you tell yourself that 30 times, that is the guy that goes to the match. The guy that's never fast enough and the guy that can't do it. So congratulations, pal. Here you are. You programmed an athlete that can't do it and it's too slow. So go compete and tell me what's going to happen. You're probably going to overtry because you believe that you can't do it and you're too slow. And so here we go. Let's keep going. We
Well
got about
said.
we got about 10. Ooh, we got about 5 minutes. We got to wrap this up. Okay. Quick answers. How did you choose limited as the class you wanted to master?
In the words of Travis Tomasi, it is the division of the true alpha male.
Nice. Does your training match? Does your training schedule differ when it is coming closer to a big match?
That's actually a really great question, and the answer is no, only because I'm so new to USPSA still that I'm on just one learning curve still. I'm trying to get better every week. I'm not changing up my training like, okay, I need to really get better for this match that's coming up or anything like that. I'm on one continuous learning curve right now still.
Okay. And I want you to imprint this to your self-image. This will be the third question you have gotten from a current national champion. Okay, third one. My
Cool.
buddy Kim Franzen, the Danish national champion, at least 2 years in a row. We call him the Great Dane. He wants to know whether it's hard sight focus, target focus, or something in between. He thinks he's a little in between most of the time. Hard sight focused on longer targets or harder targets. What do you think?
So I can definitely tell him that I'm target focused, um, regardless of the distance of the target. That has always worked out well for me. But I can also tell him that there have been times when I've consciously tried to be target focused and it subtracts from everything. So the number one answer to his question is whatever it is, it's subconscious. Whatever you've done the most of in training is probably going to work best. So you should just let it be subconscious. Uh, but I train target focused. I do shoot target focused pretty much all the time.
Yeah. I was so skeptical of 100% target focus because it is the polar opposite of what traditional iron sight dogma was, 20 years ago. And so when Walther sent me the PDP and it still had the crap sights on it, the old crap 3-dot sights, which are horrible, I went down to uh, my bowling pin rack at 28 yards and I tried a hard front sight focus and I could not hit a bowling pin at 28 yards. And then I intentionally looked at the pin and verified that my sights were aligned, even though the pin was the clearest thing in my vision. And I hit it every single time. And
Yeah.
that's when I was, and target focus makes the shot easier to call, in my opinion. Now, ironically, Brian Enos disagrees. So we're gonna tread lightly here. I'll just say for me and the way my eyes work today, I can call my shots better with a target focus because if I stare at the front sight and really focus on it, it kind of disappears instead of lifts. But with a more of a target focus, I can see the lift better and I can evaluate what's happening as the gun goes off.
Definitely, I agree. I agree. I think it also makes the if I find myself looking at the sights, I find myself very consciously trying to move and adjust the sights, and so a lot of conscious energy from my brain goes into the gun and my hands. If I'm target focused, everything with the gun in my hands happens subconsciously.
Beautiful. All right. I hate to do this because I'm really enjoying, but I do have to wrap this up so I can get to the airport. I want to do a little bit of marketing. We are currently scheduling classes for 2024. So if you have access to a range, I promise you, I will show you the exact same stuff I showed Joey. And I will show you the Joe path. And whether you choose to walk it or not is totally up to you. But if you got access to a range and you want to host me, you can get your class for free as long as we get the right number of paid shooters, and I will be happy to show anybody exactly how to duplicate this. And the good news, Joe, is most of them won't do it, and the other ones will just do 60%. But you're one of the five people on the planet that's done everything, and I want to tell you, by the way, you have been an unofficial member of TeamAndersonShooting.com ever since we met. So congratulations.
Team Anderson shooting for life.
All right, so I do have to run. I'm sure you want to thank your sponsor or sponsors.
Yeah, Masterpiece Arms. They got the best guns out there. You can buy two of those for the price of most other race guns too. And Action Brass Co. Yeah, go buy your brass from there, semi-processed, fully processed. That's my company that supports me, but also we give a lot of the money that we make back to USPSA clubs for USPSA facilities. So that's why it exists, is to support shooters in the sport.
Very good. All right, Joe, thanks for joining us, and we will do part 2 next week when it's convenient for both of us. I'll be back Monday-ish. I'm going to New York to teach a class, but we'll do part 2 next week sometime. Okay?
Cool.
All
Sounds
right,
good, Steve. Thank you.
congratulations, Joey Sauerland, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too.